thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Ratings today.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Monday, August 26th, the most important day of the week, Monday. And today is National Get Checked Day. Yes, this is referring to breast cancer, so save the tatas. It's not like phone check, homie, or nothing like that, Rico.
Oh.
Okay. But since it's also National Check Your Tatas Day, it's also National Webmistress Day, you guys.
Whoa. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh. Jason, we know some of those.
Yeah, we do. Oh. It's also National Cherry Popsicle Day.
Mm-hmm. It's a very spicy Monday.
Hold on. I got some more spice for you. It's also National Women's Equality Day.
And why's that
That's ironic.
And you can't have that without having National Dog Day.
Oh, Mickey Hart, happy day, puppy.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to los perritos.
Shout out to all the little four-legged furry creatures out there.
Yeah, fur babies.
Yes.
You should have told Mickey happy dog day yesterday.
Yes. Well, it wasn't it was today, not yesterday, Jenny Beth. But thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you all to join us from any one of those platforms, and we are going to kick it off. That's right, with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the happy cabbage specialist who does often the cabbage patch when he is rolling through the house in his socks on the floor. That's right. Trying to impersonate Michael Jackson with just one glove on the phone. That's right. It is none other.
I'm allergic to latex.
I bet it is none other than the dope. That's why he's the dope dad himself, Mr. Allergic to Latex, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
I kid, I joke. But, Burning Man, let's talk about that, Jason. Burning Man 2024 kicked off this weekend and marks the 38th iteration of one of the most polarizing annual week-long steampunk hippie sabbaticals America has to offer. And with cannabis firmly rooted in the hippie world, you won't have to ask too many industry professionals around you above or below ground before finding someone who's burned at least once. Believe it or not, since Burning Man Project CEO Marianne Goodell decided in 2019 to broaden Burning Man's attendee access to public and move their talents from Northern California to Black Rock City, Nevada, smoking weed has been prohibited. This made things a bit awkward for, the pot-loving hippies that make up the vast majority of the yearly festival's attendees. The whole festival is about sidestepping modern societal norms and throwing a big middle finger up to the established rules and regulations. But according to SF Gates Lester Black, those who get caught attempting to break Nevada's state law end up paying quite the hefty price. Black said that when it comes to Burning Man, the annual Nevada event, world famous for shirking of societal conventions, openly doing drugs or smoking marijuana, can land you in legal hot water. The festival is heavily patrolled by law enforcement, and people have been ticketed and even arrested for cannabis in previous years. Jacob Smith, a staff attorney at ACLU of Nevada and a volunteer for Burning Man Legal Observer Program, said that he knows people who've been ticketed and even removed from the festival just for smoking weed. Although Burning Man can be a nurturing and safe space, there's still real-world dangers and potentially real-world over-enforcement of marijuana. Oh, get a clap for that? You get a clap for folks getting popped in Burning Man? See, Jason hates the hippies, man. Jason hates the hippies.
I love hippies.
Yeah. In 2019, 58 people were arrested, with most being drug-related arrests, including one San Francisco man who was charged with a felony pot possession and kept on $500,000 bail. However, arrests decreased the following years. Last year, there were few arrests because rain created a weather emergency that left officers primarily helping people navigate a muddy desert, according to Reno Gazette-Journal. However, Black says that according to Mitchell Gomez, the executive director of Dance Safe, a harm reduction organization that's been active at Burning Man for 15 years, the arrest numbers often don't tell the entire story of drug enforcement at the event. He said that undercover police frequently approach people they suspect of doing drugs and hand out tickets for using substances like cannabis. For simple cannabis possession, they often let you plead down to non-drug drug offenses or just pay a fine, but you still have to get a lawyer and deal with that. The constant surveillance from police at the festival has led to widespread warnings to never smoke weed openly during the event or risk having cops search your entire camp for other drugs. You should not walk around with a joint at the playa. It's a bad idea, Gomez said. That provides probable cause for them searching you. They can go through your pockets. They'll often say you have to get your ID and take you back to your camp and then search your entire camp. The reason police presence is so heavy-handed at Burning Man is due to overlapping local and federal law enforcement. Each year, Black says Burning Man draws more than 70,000 people to Black Rock City in a rural stretch of the northern Nevada desert. The week-long party takes place on federal land and is patrolled by 5 different law enforcement agencies. It's about 5 too many for me, my black ass. But pot remains illegal on the playa, the term used by burners to describe the festival grounds thanks to overlapping federal and state laws. Marijuana is completely illegal according to federal law, and even though Nevada legalized in 2017, state law still forbids smoking in public. A spokesperson for Burning Man, said in an email statement to SF Gate that the event organizers unfortunately do not have the data on drug arrests because law enforcement has not always shared that information, but confirmed that the agency still enforce cannabis laws, and we can confirm that arrests have been made for simple cannabis possession. Despite the prohibition on pot, law enforcement officials have broad discretion when deciding how they enforce the laws. Marijuana is smoked widely, often with little repercussions across Nevada, including on federal land in national parks and in the city of Las Vegas. Lawyers for Burners, a group of volunteers who help coordinate resources for people arrested at the festival, blamed heavy-handed law enforcement on Pershing County Sheriff Jerry Allen, writing on their website that he's increased enforcement and describing him as out of control. Allen said in an email to SF Gate that his officers have reduced the amount of enforcement against marijuana at the event following state cannabis decriminalization. However, he confirmed that the arrests do happen primarily for people who use the drug in public or have more than an ounce of the drug. People must remember, if you use marijuana in another product, brownies, for example, it is not just the weight of the drug, it's the total weight of the product containing the drug. And brownies, for example, are heavy and would then exceed the 1 ounce maximum possession limit. He's fucking y'all up on a technicality. Saying that shit too. The Nevada State Police, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and Pyramid Lake Police Department, all of which patrol the playa, did not respond to requests for comment. John Asselin, the spokesperson for Bureau of Land Management, which also patrols the event, declined an interview with SF Gate, but said in an email statement that the federal agency enforces all applicable laws on public lands throughout the year. So to me, it sounds like a whole lot of that societal stress these folks were out here to escape in the first place is now part of the whole damn experience and its infrastructure. Sadly, As a lover of regular showers, dependable electricity, air conditioning, and internet, I have personally never made it out to Burning Man, though it has been on my West Coast bucket list as things to do before I eventually migrate. But knowing that undercover and uniformed super cops are on the beat, ready to fuck up the whole vibe, it definitely gives me pause before jumping at the opportunity these days, like I maybe would have pre-COVID. Maybe that's just me. Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Anybody else on the team other than MSG burned? Would that heavy presence of police surveillance all week affect your experience? Or maybe I should ask MSG first, man. How has it been? I know you're not out there this week.
We could have about a 3-hour show just on my interactions with the cops and doing drugs at Burning Man.
Oh, wow. Special edition.
That being said, real quick, the cops will totally bust you for weed. That was one of the best things last year with the rain is the cops, the way their labor laws work, they ran out all of their patrol time, and so from Friday to Monday, they couldn't leave the camp unless they were called. Nobody called them because we don't need them. We're finally able to smoke blunts in public, day or night, anywhere we wanted. There was one point, me and my friend Mike, and we're literally running around with bags of weed out while smoking blunts, just walking around like having a little weed parade because we're happy about it. Yeah, that being said, number one is be careful where you smoke weed. Try to do it like in crowds or deep in camp because they will search you for everything. Other thing, and I just wanted to mention this, we normally think when we go to do drugs or something is we like try to walk away from the party, and we partying, it's all lit up and everywhere around is dark, and so you think walking 100 feet or so away from the party is really safe. At Burning Man, it's not. All of the cops have night vision binoculars. What they actually watch is they watch for people walking away from the party and then accessing their backpack. If you do need to grab drugs out of your backpack, stay in the party close to the DJ in the thickest knot of people that you can.
Yeah, get them cover.
Anybody asks you for drugs and they look clean, they're a cop. Yeah. That being said, it can be super fun, and it's just like any other city where, like, you can't just act however the fuck you want in any city. That's part of being in a society is you have to behave in public within certain restrictions. Also, really quickly, in 2012, I did climb a uniformed BLM police officer. I climbed federal police officer on our friend Abraxas's art car. It was one of my highest moments at Burning Man.
Oh, boy.
Anybody else here, Ben?
Oh, man. Burning Man.
I've only done Burning Man replacements. But Jason, did Rico say he's going to migrate to Florida?
No.
I didn't say Florida. I said before I migrate. As a military kid, this is the longest I've ever lived anywhere, and I've been itching to get the fuck out of here for a long time. So I'm open to suggestions, but they have to be women reproductive system friendly.
Well, that ain't Florida.
Oh,
it is
Oh,
not.
damn.
boy.
Manatees have more rights than women.
I don't know about all
That's
that.
true.
I don't know about all that. Not buying any
And
of
all
that
the women there
craziness.
just looking for manatees. Am I right? Am I right?
In Miami, yeah, for sure.
Well-
I don't know. I think this is interesting. I don't know. It's weird to me that Burning Man doesn't release their arrest, or like every other festival that I know of that I've gone to that my friends go to regularly. After the weekend, we're like, oh boy, let's see who fucked up. Because they release the shit, whatever county or whatever releases. I guess maybe it's because they're in that weird catch area in the middle of BLM land.
It's actually part of the permit because they're on BLM land. You have to pay the federal government somewhere between $3 to $5 million a year. You have to sign away rights to all of this stuff, or they won't be allowed to use the playa. They've actually been looking for private land in the same area where they can hold the festival and not negatively impact.
Just
The best things about
How
Burning
many
Man
acres do they need?
Well, hold on. Just so everyone is clear, BLM stands for Bureau of Land Management in this reference.
We know that.
There it is.
Okay.
It's like the Forest Service for land that has
Look it up in the comments,
less,
Jason.
used to less trees to cut down. Burning Man is a pentagon that's about 5 miles across, so it's almost the size of the city of San Francisco.
Oh,
The
wow.
playa they hold it on is 25 miles by 95.
Yeah.
They do they need somewhere big enough where they won't negatively impact the environment, because it's one of the few places on Earth where you can't really fuck it up. It's just, feet thick of alkaline talc.
I wonder how many burning men and women that would have possibly got caught smoking weed on the playa if they all just said it's THCA and then see what the cops said.
Well, yeah, that's a new loophole that we all have, right? You got to carry your COA with you.
Yeah, carry your COAs. Exactly. A little picture on your phone. Look at this. It's legal.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Well, I don't know. It sounds like a setup to me, but all right.
it always is a setup, and that's one of the trade-offs that they allow of how they allow these big festivals is saying, hey, okay, if you're going to allow these festivals, then you have to allow law enforcement to come in and make arrests and make busts and set fines and tickets and whatnot. That's part of the whole trade-off.
They're like,
The coolest thing about the
no
hog
big
farm, the hog
deal.
farm's private land, and so there was never cops. You could see people walking around with like 8-gram mushrooms, just like 8-gram mushroom here, 7-gram here, and just cruising around in public, like, yo, you want these?
Didn't Reggae on the River used to be like that? It was just on private land, and then something changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
And I do have to say, like, while I was doing some research for the story this morning, I saw that a woman died. A woman attendee died on the first day. So I offer my condolences for that. And hope everybody out there burning does stay safe.
Mm-hmm. Any
Take your water.
Ticket that you could die.
and any thoughts on this, Yarrow, before we move on?
No, I mean, it's an interesting one for me because obviously Nevada is a consumption-friendly state. I understand the multi-jurisdictional aspect and the fact that it's federal land with 5 square miles of dirt with a foot of alkaline thick sand. The chances of fires are a lot lessened, and so it's hard for me to understand why, other than revenue, that would be a place where people would be using night vision tactical gear against cannabis smokers.
Well, they have to try it out. They have to try it out and make sure that it works.
I know. They have to justify the purchase.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is this, it's so much easier to create revenue by hassling gentle people on psychedelics than it is to go after actual criminals who might shoot back.
I think we need to think about the economics of this, right? Because people pay a lot of money and take a lot of time to go out there to have an enjoyable experience. The federal government earns $3 to $5 million a year leasing what is otherwise non-arable, non-usable land. Everybody wins when we think about the fact that this is not just an event for people to have an experience, but it's also a big commercial event, whether you like it or not. And so if everybody wins and everybody's bread is getting buttered, there's really no reason why we want to interfere with that user experience, that attendees' joy in a way that really is going to be a buzzkill.
Fair enough.
Don't say joy too many times. You're gonna give Jason a buzzkill right now.
Oh boy, you know what?
It's just the culture war, though. That's the thing is, the BLM units are headed by are basically ranger units, which are divided regionally. Head of the ranger unit, along with the Washoe and Pershing County sheriffs, are all on Jason's team. They're uptight Republicans. They hate us.
it.
They're God fearing. They love Jesus.
Jesus,
They
baby.
think that we are here to end their way of life, which a little luck. That's why we are here, and hopefully we can do so.
Yeah, and on that, since you're trying to end life, we're going to end this segment, and we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
The Network Show is coming back to LA September 18th and 19th. Make sure to get your tickets now for the only B2B licensed flower trade show in LA. With its previous shows selling out, you'll want to act fast so you don't miss out on over 150 of the best brands and distributors throughout California. The Network Show captures and ensures an intimate, focused environment for California's most influential brands and retailers to join forces in the true spirit of the legacy operator. So head over to www.networkshow.co/ticketing to reserve your spot and start cultivating connections at this year's Network Show.
And then we can all
We're
get
back,
canceled.
you guys.
Oh yeah, we are back.
Mm-hmm.
And up next, y'all know who it is. The High at 9 News head honcho, known for smoking the best weed in the world, being the highest Republican in every room he walks in and out of.
Yes.
And here to break us off with a joyful message this Monday morning, none other than Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby, that's right. It's Monday, you guys. It's Monday, man. And there was a lot of shit going on, you know what I mean? Free speech is definitely they're trying to stop it because Telegram boss Pavel Durov was detained in France, according to the French media, you guys. That's right. Telegram founder and CEO Pavel Durov was detained at a Paris airport for allegedly enabling criminal activity with his encrypted messaging app, French media reported on Saturday. France issued an arrest warrant for Durov on charges of complicity in drug trafficking crimes against children and fraud due to the lack of moderation on Telegram and his failure to cooperate with law enforcement. The TF1, LCI, and BFM TV media outlets reported all of this. The 39-year-old billionaire was detained on the tarmac of the Paris-Le Bourget airport after his private jet landed from Azerbaijan. TF1 reported that TF1 quoted an anonymous investigator as saying that Durov would most likely be placed in pre-trial detention. In a quote on his platform, he allowed an incalculable number of offenses and crimes to be committed, for which he did nothing to moderate or cooperate with law enforcement. TF1 quoted a source close to the case as saying the arrest warrant was reportedly only valid in France. So I guess he shouldn't have landed in France, huh? But nonetheless, Durov allegedly knew that he was persona non grata in France and rarely traveled to Europe and avoided countries where Telegram was under surveillance by security forces, a source close to the investigation told TF1. In a quote, "He made a mistake tonight. We don't know why, and why this flight. Just a stopover. In any case, he's in custody," TF1 quoted the source as saying. And Telegram is widely used by Russian speakers, and it has become a key platform for sharing information about the war in Ukraine and is reportedly used by the Russian military to communicate as well. Telegram is the main social media network through which open source information is spread about the war. That includes footage, but also opinions and analysis from Russian and Ukrainian military sources. A significant change on Telegram's policies could have a significant effect on the information domain for this war, military expert Rob Lee said on Twitter, or better known as X. Deputy Russian State Duma Speaker Vladsky Dunnikov said he sent an appeal to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to seek Durov's release, and in a quote says, his arrest may be politically motivated and a tool to gain access to the personal information of Telegram users. This must not be allowed, the state-run RIA Novosti news agency quoted Dankov in saying. The Russian-born boss of Telegram, which he says boasts over 900 million users, is currently based in Dubai, and he became a naturalized French citizen back in August of 2021. Durov, also the founder of Confornate social network, left Russia back in 2014 after he refused to share Conright's user data with Russian security services, and Russia later unsuccessfully attempted to block Telegram over its alleged refusal to provide users online communications to security services. In a quote, his non-cooperation with the FSB in favor of free speech is unfortunately completely neutralized by his non-cooperation with anyone to stop Telegram from being used for all these terrible things. It was his choice. Was it possible to do one and not the other? Wrote investigative journalist Christo Grozev. Well, you guys, man, the free speech is definitely under attack, and I can tell you exactly why he was targeted is because Telegram is the only open source app communication that does not cooperate with the NSA, any of the federal bureau agencies, whether that be the U.S. or in any of these other different agencies throughout the world in giving backdoor and access to these agencies to monitor citizens. So shout out to this gentleman right here fighting the fight for our freedom of speech. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Instantly deletes Telegram account.
I'm gonna jump in on this. Okay, freedom of speech is not related to commercial conduct. Let's get it clear. So there's a massive conflation at the notion of freedom of speech which is personal expression, which has nothing to do with commercial conduct. This guy's a billionaire. Why is he a billionaire? Because of Telegram. That is not personal expression. So that's that argument just not a chance. The second thing is he didn't get arrested because of free speech. He got arrested because he thought that he was above the law as somebody who is in the highest echelon of power and resources, and he failed to comply with the French request to cooperate. Now, do you see Mark Zuckerberg thumbing his nose at Congress when he has to go there and answer questions?
Yeah, I have.
No,
I have seen him
he doesn't.
I have seen him do that.
No. We'll cover that tomorrow with links. Show the receipts. The point is, just because you're rich doesn't mean that you can't. That you're above reprimand. So he had to go jump through some hoops. He chose not to. So he fucked around and found out. What did he think was going to happen? Had he chosen to engage with them and said, thank you, French authorities, for your concern around the app. Here's what my roles, my limitations. Here's how we do this. Go and answer a couple questions, brought a little French interpreter, whatever. Then he wouldn't have got arrested on the tarmac. But he didn't do that. So then he gets arrested and Elon comes flocking going, oh my God, another tech entrepreneur who's being discriminated against because he's supporting free speech. Bullshit. He fucked around and found out. What do you think was going to happen?
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you look at what happened with the people, what was that whole metaverse thing where they were the dark web for crypto?
Oh, yeah,
Silk Road.
Oh,
Silk
yeah,
Road.
Pirate Bay.
Yeah, Silk Road.
Silk Road.
Yep.
I mean, that
That's what it
guy
was.
is still sitting in a prison somewhere, right? So
He's going to get pardoned when Trump gets elected.
He also
that
did pay to have some people killed.
who?
It wasn't just that he was running a drug website. He actually tried to pay to have people killed.
Like Kim.com.
allegedly. I mean, listen,
Well,
Telegram
it's not allegedly.
beware.
It's not allegedly.
It's not
He's
allegedly.
sitting in
They
jail
have the-
because of it.
I've seen the documentation because I'm pro drugs and pro freedom and thought that the Silk Road was awesome, but to have people murdered is not cool.
No, I agree with that.
The cops showed Mathieu the evidence while he was on top of the art car in 2012.
I'm actually a Fed, you guys. I can't believe you thought I was a hippie this whole time.
Oh boy.
He's well fed.
Yeah, exactly.
They put you on the
Saint
front of
Germain.
the art car like a little Mathieu St hood ornament, or what happened? I need
Be
more.
special agent in charge, you guys.
I bet.
I'm sick.
I bet.
But I think it's extremely manipulative for Elon Musk to try to frame this as some sort of liberty issue.
Where did Elon Musk come into this?
Because he's quoted in the article, and if you look at this article on the internet,
I didn't say Elon Musk. I didn't say Elon Musk at all. This whole article.
No, you didn't. But I read this article, and then I read a bunch of the other articles that covered
Well,
the exact
Elon Musk
same thing.
wasn't mentioned at all in this article. Just saying.
Oh, Yarrow actually did some research, so he's giving
That's
us
all. That's all good.
Yeah,
That's
man.
all good.
Jason's mad that Yarrow's reading.
No, I'm not. I have no
reading,
problem
dude?
with
This
it.
is fun.
I have no problem with that.
Jason
But
and
just
his overwhelming love and support and protection of the billionaire class out there, man. Such an
I love
elitist
billionaires.
these
They're
days,
my favorite
Jason.
people.
I mean,
You've all
it's
been
just,
an elitist.
I hope to have these problems someday. I hope to have
Exactly.
the problem of my private jet where my hubris and failure to comply with the request of a government when I could have delegated it to a high-profile, highly compensated attorney. I hope that that's the thing that gets me in trouble. Like that is just such a first world problem. I just don't feel sorry for this guy. But I did notice, because I read the article, Jason, that France has court processes on Sunday. And that's what upsets me, okay? Not that the billionaire got arrested, but that they have court on Sunday. Is nothing sacred? That's fucking football. Why would you court on a Sunday?
What is this Sabbath?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Sabbath is a Saturday, but court should never be on Sunday.
I know this.
Oh boy, you.
I mean, you know what? I could make an argument for Sunday court. If you get arrested on a Friday for a long weekend, just go ahead and throw me in Sunday morning and let me get a bail and get on up out of here. So,
Yeah, the
Burning
worst.
Man is not over
I've done a
yet.
3-day weekend in jail before. It's not
It's the
fun.
worst. It's the
It's
worst.
not fun.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to keep this train rolling. We are going to roll right into the Sebastopol sage himself, Mr. Yarrow Kubrin, the man who has the most elaborate collection of telephone books to make sure that he can answer his wall-mounted phone when it rings. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Oh, man. Good morning. Monday, August 28th, 26, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in to High at 9 News. Once again, my article is from Minnesota, fresh off the press from Marijuana Moment by Kyle Yeager.
Rico drop.
Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura calls on marijuana consumers to boycott state fair for banning cannabis but allowing alcohol and tobacco. Minnesota's former governor is calling on people to boycott this year's state fair for prohibiting marijuana use at the venue while at the same time allowing attendees to consume alcohol and tobacco, even though the state enacted a cannabis legalization law last year. But while Jesse Ventura is fired up about the fair's policy, he's also optimistic about the prospects of federal marijuana reform under the Harris-Walz administration. In an interview with Marijuana Moment on Thursday, Ventura said he does hope that Vice President Kamala Harris, those are typos.
Oh boy.
Harris, the 2024 Democratic nominee, and her running mate, current Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, advocate for an end to federal cannabis prohibition on the campaign trail, saying it would be smart for them to do so given the popularity of the issue. If they would come out and say they would lift the federal ban on cannabis marijuana, I think that it would help ensure their victory, he said. There's a tremendous amount of cannabis users out there who would vote accordingly so that they would not feel federally like they're still criminals in any way, shape, or form. During her time in the Senate, Harris sponsored a comprehensive marijuana legalization bill, and she called for a major reform as recently as March during a roundtable with presidential pardon recipients. Walz signed cannabis legalization into law in Minnesota last year, and he invited Ventura, a longstanding champion of reform, to attend the signing ceremony. Despite Minnesota enacting legalization, however, Ventura said the state fair is not allowing cannabis use, even as it makes accommodations for tobacco use in specific areas and will have alcohol available for purchase on-site at beer gardens and other vendors. It's supposed to be legal in the state of Minnesota. How can they outlaw it at this state fair when they allow tobacco and alcohol? And my point being is this: all we ask is in the cannabis world is to treat us fairly. Treat us fairly. Treat us the same as you do tobacco and alcohol. And unfortunately, that's not happening. We're being discriminated against, even though it is now legal. All cannabis smokers ought to boycott the state fair, Ventura, a former wrestler and actor, said. Don't go there until we're given equal rights and we're treated equally to tobacco and alcohol. A spokesman for the Minnesota State Fair confirmed in an email to Marijuana Moment that smoking and vaping of cannabis is prohibited on the Minnesota State Fairgrounds during the 2024 event. This policy is in accordance with the Minnesota law that prohibits the use and possession of cannabis in a location where the smoke, aerosol, or vapor of a cannabis product could be inhaled by a minor, the email said. The sale of products containing THC and CBD is not permitted at the 2024 Minnesota State Fair. In a separate interview, Ventura said you can go over there, get smashed on alcohol, go on a ride, throw up on everybody else because you've been drinking. They have 18 designated smoking places for tobacco, and yet they have banned cannabis. While not all states that have legalized cannabis allow the product to be consumed or purchased at their respective state fairs, California made history this year with both marijuana sales and on-site consumption being permitted for the first time. In New York, on-site cannabis use and sales were allowed at the state fair in 2021 after adult use legalization was enacted. However, the fair stopped permitting public consumption at last year's event, though attendees could buy marijuana products from nearly a dozen local growers at a cannabis farmers market held in conjunction with the event. Outside of state policy, Ventura also shared his perspective on national cannabis politics as the November election with Marijuana Moment, as to the November election with Marijuana Moment. For example, when asked about former President Donald Trump, the 2024 Republican nominee, the former governor said, "You can't trust his comments on the issue, including his recent signaling that he'd be inclined to back marijuana decriminalization as more states enact legalization. You got to look at what he does, and Donald Trump is out for Donald Trump," Ventura said. If he thinks that supporting marijuana will help him get elected, he'll temporarily support it until he gets elected, and when he's elected, he'll probably ignore it. It'd be a very different story under Walz as vice president, Ventura said. You can trust him. He's a man of integrity, and if Governor Walz says they're going to lift the federal prohibition unless Kamala Harris vetoes him, which I don't think she would, it'll happen. That's the kind of person he is. A Democratic senator sponsoring bipartisan cannabis banking legislation separately told Marijuana this week that he believes if she's elected president this November, she'll be ready to sign marijuana reform bills into law. So there's a few more things in this article that I'm going to just gloss over, but let me just kick this off before I hand over this article and the topics I've covered to my fellow pundits here on the news today. So I love Jesse Ventura. I think he's very entertaining. I used to consume all the TV that he created. And I think this is the most ridiculous grandstanding for a Monday morning. California legalized adult use cannabis in 2016, and it wasn't until 2024 that they had consumption at their state fair. So if Minnesota legalizes cannabis last year, and already this blowhard is suggesting you boycott the state fair because they haven't initiated a consumption area, but they have alcohol and tobacco, which has been legal for many, many years, I think it really, really calls into question his judgment and whether he's just grandstanding. Don't boycott your state fair. Go to your state fair. Spend a lot of money. Enjoy the funnel cake. Win a little clown. Give it to your friend. Whatever you do, the notion that reserving and withholding your dollars to not support a state fair because in 1 year they haven't stood up a consumption lounge without understanding the complexity and cost associated with that, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Love you, Jesse, but this one you're out of touch. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
I don't know, Yarrow. I think they're a little out of touch up there. They should definitely have a consumption area, at least even for beverages, as much as the state is hyping up beverages. You know what I'm saying?
Jason, will you attend if they get you a beverage and I THC and seltzer?
I mean, maybe.
I'll lend you one of my phone books if you want to take a ride there.
I mean, I don't need a phone book. I don't need a booster seat. None of that type of stuff, Yarrow. But
I'm the tallest person on the show right now. Holy shit, you guys!
That's kind of funny.
I mean, what do you think, Matthew? We got 2024, and they're still enforcing against cannabis consumption at Burning Man, and Jesse is concerned about a state fair in a state that's only been legal for a year.
He should be. Jesse should be.
I appreciate him advocating towards consumption lounges. I think that's what he's trying to do, is just trying to push him along the way. So I'm with Jesse on this one.
Oh, are you?
See, look at that.
I really wish he would have ran for president, bro. I really do. I would have voted for him.
That would have been good too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
I know. I think it'll happen eventually. Hopefully, I think Yarrow's just mad, one, that he can't go Judge Harper there. And, I think you just give it some time. Like licensing, they probably don't even have event licensing shirt up. Like an event license on that scale, this is a large production. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of permits they don't even have available yet. So just calm down a little bit, Mr. Body the Ventura.
I feel like even if they didn't have like a designated consumption area, they should just have like a don't ask, don't tell, or don't ask, don't smell policy in the smoking area.
Don't ask, don't smell.
Yeah, don't ask, don't smell policy in the smoking area, and then just allow people to just be smoking in the smoking area.
Yeah, that's the motto for Jason's love life.
Yeah.
Don't ask, don't smell.
Whoa. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Mickey, chill.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and all of the articles that we cover on today's show you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And thank you to all of our viewers out there. We do appreciate you. We surpassed over 900,000 views last week, and we want to thank you all very, very much.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Yee.
Oh, yes, and we are back, and we are rolling on into that southern twang that knows how to do a little thing. That's right, she's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Oh boy, we got a problem because Jenny Beth Dills was not ready. I wasn't ready. Hold on. Damn, I thought I was last. I got to you guys. Happy Monday.
Oh, jeez. Jeez.
Oh, hey, I'm doing my best, Jason.
You know, typical scenario. Waiting for females to be ready.
Waiting for a woman. Okay, well, that's fine. Maryland Cannabis Company just got fined $8,000 for violating advertising rules. Maryland Cannabis Company, Curio Cultivation LLC, and Curio Manufacturing LLC have agreed to pay an $8,000 fine for violating state advertising regulations. The Maryland Cannabis Administration, MCA, found that the companies advertised their products at events where minors were present and did not provide data demonstrating at least 85% of the audience was over 21. According to the consent order, the violations occurred at 2 events. The Hot August Music Festival, held in August 2023, the festival advertised activities specifically for children and families, and Curio displayed a logo branded tent at the event. The Baltimore Running Festival, held in October 2023, the festival allowed participants of all ages, including a designated kids fun zone. Curio sponsored the 5K race and had its name and logo featured on marketing materials and participant lanyards. Maryland cannabis advertising regulations outlined in the Cannabis Reform Act and Code of Maryland Regulations prohibit targeting individuals under 21 and require specific audience data for advertisements placed electronically or in public locations. While acknowledging the violations, the consent order notes that Curio cooperated with the investigation and remains in good standing with the MCA. The companies will pay a $500 fine for the Hot August Music Festival violation and a $3,500 fine for each violation related to the Baltimore Running Festival, totaling $8,000. The consent order is a public document. I think this is interesting for a few reasons. One, because think of the children as such a interesting notion, because there are so many things that much more blatantly advertise to children and much more blatantly cause a problem, like edibles shaped like normal kid gummies. So I think that this is an interesting situation in Maryland. I also do think that this is a warning for everybody who's like, oh, they're never going to enforce any of these things, that, well, they just might. And $8,000 is a decent sized fine. Obviously, we pay a lot more in taxes and other fines, and it probably could have been a bit more hefty, but $8,000 for this seems like a pretty big L, considering these events and music festivals and races are very expensive to sponsor in the first place. So these guys shelled out a lot of money just to have to shell more out after the fact. So run your data, make sure you know where, when you can advertise and how, and try to be aware and see what you guys think.
Man, so these guys did an event advertising their stuff, and that's what they're getting fined for?
Yeah, they advertised at an event that had children's areas and was an all-ages family event. Sort of like a state fair.
But like
it's
they
a
didn't,
real technicality, because it's not like they were handing out pre-rolls. They sponsored a 5K running event that was all ages, and their logo was on the marketing material. So they got caught on a technicality, but I don't think anybody can argue that they knowingly marketed to children.
Yeah, I think that's a weak ass argument. If I was this company, I might push back on this fine and try to tell them that it's an unjust fine and do everything.
Well, they didn't. They cooperated. They didn't meet the burden of providing data that showed that 85% of the audience that was being marketed to at said event was 21 or older. So there was that burden of proof that's built into Maryland's laws, where they could have pushed back and said, "Hey, no, we ran the numbers."
But if the event organizer would have been able to produce some type of documentation in regards to that, that would have got them off.
It's not the event organizer's job to understand the laws of which they have to operate inside of.
Yeah,
or to be able to acquire those kinds of analytics and metrics of the attendees, especially if it's a public event. I mean, what are you going to do? Ask everybody their age as they go through the front door?
Well, most of those people are registering, and so that's a good metric right there.
I think they were smart to not push.
The music festival, they're not registering like that. Like sounds like it was an outdoor community.
Well, music festival, they're selling tickets. They sell tickets online, so everyone's getting registered.
Well, then maybe they should have done that, Jason, but I don't know. I mean, I think in this case, it's not the event organizer's burden of proof. It would fall on the person who is doing the advertising and their compliance.
I agree with that part. But what I'm saying is this, is that if you're an event and you want me to sponsor your event, then you need to provide me some type of metric so then that way I can cover my ass in this advertising expenditure. And it should be very easy for them to do. It should be extremely easy for them to do.
Well, this is why people get mad at me at work, because my job is to be the no really cool idea, but you can't fucking do that, girl. So, I mean, that it's their burden of proof. And the event organizer, how are they supposed to know they need to cover your ass metric? Unless I ask them, unless I'm like, all right, I'm looking at this opportunity, looking at the risk reward here. Ask the festival if they can provide us age data.
Mm-hmm.
If so, then run it. If not, then probably.
I just think it would be very easy. I think it'd be very easy for them to get this information from the event company. That's all.
But
well, they didn't provide it, and they paid $8,000 instead. So I don't know, Jason. Maybe call them.
At the end of the day, this boils down to compliance, which is the driest but probably most important part of the industry. And if you don't have somebody who's into compliance on your team or outsourced or a consultant, you done fucked up already. And it reminds me of the story that was covered last week around Mike Tyson's ear bites having to be reformulated as boxing gloves because it was a human body, and you're not allowed to have human body, anything that looks like a person. And so that's a perfect example of something that should have gotten caught by a compliance person. A compliance person in cannabis is like an underwriter in insurance. Their job is to just be a wet blanket and say that's a great idea, but you can't do it. And so to me, this just reminds me that creative entrepreneurs need to have the limiting influence of a compliance consultant to remind them that not all great ideas or initiatives are going to be able to get through that lens of what is permissible.
You have any thoughts?
This reminds me, you guys, I'm having the Children's Psychedelic 10K this weekend in Santa Rosa. Free LSD for all children under 18.
Oh, boy.
If you need a compliance director to shut all those ideas down, Mathieu St, Germain, you can find me at
also a free nitrous tank for the winter, because
well, now we're fucking talking. You just changed the whole thing up. Mm-hmm. So Wawa's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Kids high on drugs again.
Mm-hmm. Oh no.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are going to keep this thing rolling. We're going to roll into our final commercial. We're going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yes, and we're back, you guys. Coming up next, that's right, it's the other man in Sebastopol that likes to burn the sage, dance around campfires in pajama onesies, and trip high on balls all day and night. That's right, it's none other than Mr. Mathieu St. Germain.
Thank you, Brother Jason. All the correspondents. Happy Monday, everybody out there. Hey, you forgot, he also loves to share free drugs with children.
Oh boy, we're not going that far.
I've got a great story that just shows more amazingness about psychedelic drugs. Get ready for this, guys. Mm-hmm. Psychedelic substances like psilocybin, ketamine, and MDMA, once dismissed as mere party drugs, are being reevaluated for their therapeutic potential in addiction. Several studies reveal promising outcomes where conventional therapies fall short, indicating rapid and lasting benefits from just a few sessions of psychedelic-assisted therapy, which combines low-dose drug use with talk therapy. However, effectiveness and protocols still need more research, emphasizing that such treatments are not suitable for self-administration without professional guidance. Be true for some people. After years of being seen as dangerous party drugs, psychedelic substances are receiving renewed attention as therapies for addiction. Far more research is needed, according to a new special series of articles in the Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs, published at Rutgers University. Psychedelics are substances that essentially alter users' perceptions and thoughts about their surroundings and themselves. For millennia, indigenous cultures have used plants and fungi with psychedelic properties, traditional medicine, and spiritual ritual. And for a time in the mid-20th century, Western researchers became interested in the potential for psychedelics to help treat a range of psychiatric conditions, including substance use disorders. That research ground to a halt not long after it began, and we'll get into the reasons why. Things have shifted more in recent years. Drugs such as psilocybin, ketamine, and MDMA are under study again in what researchers call psychedelic-assisted therapy. In a nutshell, drug doses are given under medical supervision in combination with conventional talk therapy. As the JSAD series highlights, a collection of small clinical trials have tested this for helping people with alcohol dependence, opioid addiction, and other substance use disorders. There have been promising results suggesting the approach can lead to higher abstinence rates than conventional therapy alone. What really stands out is how fast psychedelic-assisted therapy can work versus the standard approach. Lasting benefits have been seen after just 1 to 3 treatment sessions. People with substance use disorders typically use drugs to hide from their troubling thoughts and feelings. Psychedelic-assisted therapy, by contrast, seems to help lift the veil and allow people to have insights or light bulb moments that aid in their recovery. Patients may, for example, have renewed feelings of self-efficacy that make it easier to adopt healthier behaviors and coping skills. No one yet knows exactly how psychedelics do this. One theory is that they act via neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize its wiring. It's clear that much more research is needed. There's still a lot of questions. Which psychedelics are effective for which substance use disorders? Which protocols work best? This will take funding, which until now has come mainly from private sources. Government funding is just starting to open up now. Now, people should understand that psychedelics are not a do-yourself treatment for substance abuse or mental health disorders. The psychotherapy component is crucial. A lot of people have been misled into thinking they can microdose on their own, Morisano said. But you can't wipe the psychotherapy out of this. I just finished this up with a quick editorializing of it's really false. Some people do have levels of PTSD and or schizophrenia or other trauma that will require a psychologist. But I myself have seen there is some evidence coming forward that both microdosing and macrodosing without therapy can lead to drastic life changes. I've seen a lot of people doing the Stammet stack, which is niacin, psychedelic mushrooms, and lion's mane mushrooms in a sub-psychedelic dose. People off cigarettes, get people off alcohol, etc. A lot of times people are just looking for that little magic feather, something that can alter their consciousness, their day, or their reality just enough, give them the strength to initiate new habits. Secondarily, these drugs were not made illegal just because people were dipping into them recreationally. They were made illegal because the CIA and the government knew that they were actually depatterning people and causing them to not fall for the propaganda and the government lies. And Richard Nixon and his staff have been quoted, and many of his staff members have admitted on their deathbed that these substances were made illegal in order to target the anti-war, the free speech, and the civil rights movements, because in the late 60s, those movements were unifying and actually almost ended the war in Vietnam in 1968. However, because they could not go after these loyal Americans for their legal and lawful exercise of their First Amendment rights, what they did instead was criminalize these drugs, found the DEA, begin the FDA scheduling process. Then they could use the shared cannabis and psychedelic usage of these movements as a tool and a lever to imprison these folks and end that movement. Back to the story. Psychedelics are amazing. I think that they cause one to seek a wholeness and a feeling of being okay and being connected to the universe. I think that has a lot to do with the cessation of these substance use disorders. I'm really interested to hear what Jason and my fellow correspondents, what you all have to share about your experiences with these, either yourself or with friends. It's Mathieu St. Germain for the High at 9 News on a Monday.
Oh, Matthew, I mean, I'm confused where all this money for these studies are going to be coming from, because the stories that we covered last week or the week before last, all the money had pretty much dried up for all of this, and all these guys that were doing the studies all had egg on their face.
Well, that was one study with MAPS and MDMA, but right now there's a plethora of studies both in the U.S. and worldwide, not just for MDMA, and it was very disheartening the way MAPS and Lycos really dropped the ball in the MDMA studies. However, again, there's a ton of other studies. Biggest problem is there is no government funding for it. That's not true. Save studies with the VA, so I have to backtrack that. There are some VA studies for veterans of PTSD that have some government funding. For the most part, these studies are going to fall prey to the same, black hole that all studies with the FDA are falling into, which is if they are not a patentable molecule, nobody wants to put up the tens and more of millions of dollars to get something passed through the FDA system that then their competitors will be able to use as well.
Exactly. Very true. Very true.
That's why you see MindMed, Remind, and these other companies going after patentable analogs, because you can patent an analog of psilocybin where you can't patent psilocybin. Even Lycos, they couldn't patent MDMA. They got a delivery and use patent. And if MDMA would have been prescription legal, Lycos would have been the exclusive provider for 5 years.
Yeah, it would have been
It's
the only
still,
way you could
it's the
legally
capitalist
take it.
capture and everything being all about the money. Yarrow's been patiently waiting. What do you got to say, brother?
Yarrow has to go to the bathroom or something. He's going to explode. He's having a moment.
So here's the thing, right? We've been talking about the promise of these categories of drugs for people for a variety of ailments for way too long. Now, we love to come on this show and talk about how government is really good at messing things up. But government is also really good at taking on big problems. If you need the Panama Canal built, you're probably better off having the government involved. If you want to go to the moon, you might need some NASA. If you want to build freeways across the entire country, you might need the size of the government to get these massive initiatives completed. And so the VA is the largest healthcare provider in the country and would be the large, imperfect, and not necessarily efficient mechanism by which to start to fund these types of things. And government has money. Government prints money. Government just needs to decide what's important with its money. And so if you look at this from a cost-benefit analysis, can we do certain things that would wean people off of other antidepressants or reduce veteran suicides? There is a societal benefit to government putting money into these studies. The problem is that we've been talking about the potentials for way too long. And if government doesn't fund these studies to create this medical data and efficacy and understanding, then private enterprise has to come in. And when private enterprise comes in, it has to think about its return on investment. And so to Matthew's point, because some of these things are not patentable and there's no barriers to entry that can be created around a business model for some of these therapies, then it becomes a problem. Or they're charging $60,000 and only the most affluent can go to a weekend of medicinal mushroom meditation. And so I think it is a very strong case study for why government needs to get involved, put money into these things, and really push forward the advancement of medical science, because typically these studies take 3 to 5 years. It is 2024. What are they waiting for? We've been on the precipice of breakthroughs for a really long time. And in my opinion, the only holdback is time and money, and we need to be able to fund these in a way that is very much government involved, in my opinion.
Fair enough. You have any thoughts on this, Jenny Beth, before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, I think that there's been a lot of really good research that's come out of Colorado for a long time. And I think privately funded people who actually care about the work that could be done with this plant-based medicine is going to push it forward. And yes, the VA would be helpful from a funding standpoint, but also, please, anybody who's ever worked with the VA or even gone to the VA knows how absolutely ass backwards every bit of that organization is. So I don't think that the VA is going to be our answer here, unfortunately. But yes, it is a pathway for government funding.
I've got a really easy way to cut down on service member suicides. Close all the overseas military bases. Stop urging the American public to live in fear of the other. Realize that we are so well armed and funded and separated by the largest oceans and basically uninvadable. Stop sending these service members lease other countries and or murder people so that we can steal their resources. All of a sudden, we will see a precipitous drop in veteran suicides. I know it sounds ridiculous because it's literally that easy.
I disagree with one of those parts, Mathieu St. Germain, is that we are not, but nonetheless, we're going to keep this thing rolling. I have a fun story for you, Mathieu St. Germain.
Oh, did you? Yarrow screaming at you, Jason. Did you?
Why are you saying it so softly, Jason? Are you trying to seduce Matthew? What's going on?
I don't know.
No, he's not.
I think
Jason
I think that one was
people without
it was hard to recover from logical insight. It's like, oh yeah, wait a minute.
What Matthew is talking about is fundamentally revisiting the Monroe Doctrine and whether our foreign policy is best served by having many places where we have bases, U.S. service people, and whether that at the end of the day serves both our foreign policy needs as well as the needs of our populace.
And we don't just have to pay for the bases and the money to get the logistics done and the shipping of everything to the bases. We actually pay each of those countries several $billion per year per base. If we were to close those overseas bases and realize, once again, ain't nobody coming to get us, use that money to...
There are people coming here to get us.
Food forests in America. We could use that money to feed, clothe, and give counseling to the homeless. We could actually use that money to focus on American citizens, maybe live in a country that we can be proud of again.
I don't know. We need an Iron Dome. I'll tell you that much.
Oh boy.
But nonetheless,
all of us live in fear, brother Jason.
I don't live in fear.
love.
I live in strong protection, so I don't have to worry about anything.
Yep.
So
it's called the U.S. Marines. Thanks,
yeah. Thank you.
I mean, the counter argument to that, Matthew, is that after the Marshall Plan in Europe in World War II, the U.S. military presence has been a counterbalance to dictatorships and to the spread of
oh my
some
God!
power.
It's the biggest load of bullshit ever.
Oh,
it's
boy.
a counter argument.
We have funded every right-wing dictatorship on the planet, bro.
Except
Get
for
the
Putin.
fuck over yourself.
Oh,
Except
boy.
for Putin.
You guys,
It's a lie.
yeah.
Have
Hold on.
subverted
Hold on.
left-wing governments.
Hold on.
In order to deal hard drugs to the CIA, have supported right-wing governments. I think that is just one of the most historically statements I've ever heard.
I love it. You guys maybe we'll film a wrestling.
I said it was the counter argument. I didn't say it was my perspective, but it is the counter argument.
I was about to walk over to your house and fucking
slap me upside my head.
Never. No violence. No violence.
Oh my.
Love.
Slap me with a
love
feather.
and drugs for children.
I have. Stop with all that craziness. All right, so here's some good news. I got the final story for you guys for today. I think you guys are gonna like this, because cannabis revealed to have an anti-aging effect on the brain of mice. That's right, THC, the main active ingredient in cannabis, has been shown to reverse conventional signs of brain aging in mice, a discovery that could help in finding ways to keep our brains healthier and sharper for longer as we get older. That's right. The new study builds on what was already known about the endocannabinoid system and the cannabinoid receptor type 1, CB1, in the brain, and their links to the gradual cognitive decline that comes with age. What's more is the team from Germany and Israel was able to observe how the anti-aging effects were taking place through a signaling pathway involved the mTOR protein, mTOR, which is associated with the healthy regulation of cell metabolism. And from the metabolome, the overall composition of small molecules in the body. In a quote, they say, "We have now been able to show that treatment with THC has a tissue-dependent and dual effect on mTOR signaling. And the metabolome," says molecular biologist Andras Beliki-Gorzo of the University of Bonn in Germany. Some of the same researchers had previously found that low doses of cannabis could improve memory and learning capabilities in aging mice, and suggesting that there might be a relationship between THC and cognition worth exploring. In the study, 2 groups of the mice were used: young mice around 4 months old and older group around 18 months old. Some mice in each age group received a daily dose of THC across a period of 28 days, and the effects were compared to age-matched controls. The mice treated with THC showed a boost in mTOR activity in the brain and the production of more of the proteins necessary to form new synapses between neurons, which helps with almost every aspect of brain function. What's more, mTOR activity in fat tissue dropped in the same way that it does with a calorie-controlled diet. That's right. In other words, the body starts to dial down some of its production processes in ways that have previously been shown to slow down biological aging too. And in a quote, they say, "We concluded that long-term THC treatment initially has a cognition-enhancing effect by increasing energy and sympathetic protein production in the brain, followed by an anti-aging effect by decreasing mTOR activity and metabolic processes in the periphery," says Beliki Gorzo. These are potentially very interesting findings for protecting brain health in old age, and we know from previous studies that THC might be able to play a role in delaying the onset of dementia, and the drug clarify effects of the brain in some pretty fundamental ways. All of this still needs to be observed in humans, though, and it's worth remembering that cannabis has been linked to harming brains as well as helping them. I don't know where those links are, but nonetheless, you guys can find them.
That ain't true.
Yeah. If those mechanisms can be harnessed in a healthy way, however, there's hope for some significant brain health boosts. In a quote, "Our study suggests that the dual effect on mTOR activity and the metabolome could be the basis for an effective anti-aging, cognition-enhancing drug," says Beliki Gorzo. Well, I think this is fantastic news and just proves a lot of things that a lot of cannabis smokers have thought for years. And you know what I mean? And everyone loves anti-aging. And all of a sudden, if you could put that on a cannabis product as a claim saying that this product is anti-aging, man, then things would be flying off the shelf. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Jason, this means you are actually biohacking, not just taking the peptides. That's crazy, bud. You didn't even know it.
I've always known that. That's not news to me.
I think it's pretty messed up that they're dosing these 4-month-old little baby rats. I mean, we talk about this being an age-restricted product, and there they are taking the Saint Germain playbook and dosing the children.
Think of the
Drugs
children.
for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Think of the children.
I was right again, you guys.
I was figuring Matthew was going to comment in regards to that that portion of the article.
I mean, I just feel bad that this is being done in Bonn, Germany, instead of at Caltech, Pasadena. The fact that this is a intra-country research between Germany and Israel is just, to me, another example of where this country could be at the forefront of innovation, but for federal illegality. And we've got a lot of bright minds here who would like to continue to forward the art and science of cannabis, and that federal illegality is preventing us on the world stage from being both a thought leader and a data creator when it comes to some of this stuff. None of this surprises me, but it pains me that this country has prevented its best scientists from being a part of that if the research could be done here and isn't.
Fair.
You know, CBD, in addition to all this, has actually shown a lot of neuroprotective effects in peer-reviewed studies worldwide. The fattiness actually goes and kind of binds around your brain cells in some way that I'm going to totally bobble in trying to explain. But it protects your brain from oxidation and other harmful effects, and actually seeing efficacy in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis with high-dose CBD.
Matthew, I don't have a fat brain. I'm big-brained. It's not fat.
Well, actually, Yarrow, you do have a fat brain because all of your memory is stored in the fat cells of your brain.
I store it in my memories.
Oh, geez.
Then I have room in my brain.
Oh boy, well, on
Still
that,
time for Yarrow to do that thing he does.
yeah. Well, anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank you to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents. Oh, I like that, Yarrow. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this, and thank you to Cloud Media Partners. Millie in the building today. That's right. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.